All right, we will call the regular meeting of July 23rd, 2024 to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas,
Here.
Ms. Hayes, Mr. Horvath,
Here.
Mrs. Sensi, and Mr. Thompson.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Aye.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 4th, 2024?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Is there a motion to approve the regular meeting of June 27th, 2024?
I'll move.
I'll second. Any discussion? I think, are we going to be able to?
He can still vote for the minutes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
that is-
I've
I'm
been
just
on
wondering with only
boards,
two
yes.
of us,
Okay.
Yeah, no,
so
I've been on the boards.
roll call?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, before we move into board member reports, we're going to have a moment of silence. Mrs. Smith's going to talk about that.
It's always sad to learn of someone's passing, especially when it's a member of our Madison family. Recently, we learned of the passing of Frank Ashton, a retired Madison teacher who passed away at the age of 83. Frank was a man of many interests and talents. In addition to teaching art for over 33 years in the Madison schools from 1974 to 2001, he dedicated his life to the service of this community. Here are some of his accomplishments. He was a Madison Township trustee. He, along with two other community members, helped to create the Madison Food Center. He led the charge for many holidays, organizing the Madison Christmas baskets. He helped to raise funds for Rabbit Run Theater so that it could reopen in 1979. He received the Madison Perry Chamber of Commerce Community Service Award in 1989. He was named to the Ohio Senior Citizens Hall of Fame by the Ohio Department of Aging in 2009. In addition to all his philanthropic interests, Frank enjoyed cooking and traveling and was well known for baking bread. He helped his wife Dottie for many years maintain the memorial flags area at the football stadium. He was continually looking for ways to help in the schools. His passion for art continued well after he retired from teaching. He said in the News Herald article about the Ohio Senior Citizens Hall of Fame, there was never a day that he did not want to go to work to teach, but there were days that he wanted to go home and paint. He was a true artist and revered in the community. Frank will be missed by his wife Dottie, their children Maria, Carrie, Kathleen, and Michael, and his many grandchildren. All of us at the Madison schools extend our deepest and most sincere sympathy to Frank's family and friends. And I just want to say that while I did not work with Frank directly, he would come to this office often, and when I became superintendent, came and talked to me and greeted me and welcomed me to the position. And up until last year, he was dropping by here to visit, and he always wanted to give back to the schools. And I know you had him as a teacher.
He was my art teacher when I was in school. When I served on the library board of trustees, he contacted us numerous times for events and things that he was interested in. And he had a restaurant in Madison Village at one point where he made Italian food, and it was very good. My whole family went. Contacted me numerous times at Job and Family Services, which is my daytime job, and advocating for people. Every time he called me, he was advocating for somebody who needed some help in some way or another. And so he'll be missed.
In the News Herald article about this award on that he got for being in the Senior Citizens Hall of Fame. He talked about something that, you know, we've talked about many times here at the table with, about our students and our families, that, you know, while a lot of us are able to have nice meals, there's a lot of hunger here in Madison, and he advocated to ensure that no child went hungry and ways to provide that for families. He served many Thanksgiving dinners, I read, over 350. At the time, that was in 2009, and I know he worked tirelessly, you know, right up until the time he quit it. He will be missed. He's with his buddy Fred Close, who is another artist and also very passionate about the food center. So they're together up above.
All right, is anyone wishing to give a board member report this evening?
Yeah, I was at the Gridiron golf event on Saturday, and Dan and the folks there did a really great job putting that on. They raised, I think they raised quite a bit of money. There was a lot of teams, and actually someone won the hole in one.
Oh.
That was for $10,000, so that was nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, Dan and his you know, team members did a great job putting that on. So
How'd you golf?
my team, we didn't do so well. We usually are well into under par, but this time we were one over. So but we usually do. Yeah, we were shanking them left and right, but it was fun.
Good.
Good reason to drink beer.
All right, the next, or did you have any, did you want to give a board report?
No, I'm good.
So the next two items are under the board, and then we'll move to public participation. So the next two items are salary increases for our superintendent and our treasurer. Both of these are 2.5% cost of living adjustment increases. These are the same amounts that we approved for our labor contract that we just recently approved. So I will read this here. So do we? And I'm just going to start and read the whole thing here. It is, whereas the board is determined to adjust the compensation of the superintendent for the 2024-2025 contract year by granting her a 2.5% increase to her salary. Effective August 1st, 2024 is authorized by Section 12 of her employment contract, whereas the superintendent's employment contract requires that any modification of it in writing signed by the parties upon proper resolution of the board. Now therefore be it resolved. Superintendent's compensation is increased by 2.5% effective August 1st. And the board president and treasurer directed to execute the attached superintendent's contract addendum, and that be made part of the superintendent's employment contract replacing the current Section 4. We have a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Thank you for your service for the next year.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So similar, whereas the board has determined to adjust the compensation of the treasurer for the 2024-25 contract year by granting a 2.5% increase to her base salary effective August 1st, 2024. It's authorized by Article 4, Section B of her employment contract. And whereas the treasurer's employment contract requires that any modification of it be in writing, signed by the parties upon proper resolution of the board. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the treasurer's compensation is increased by 2.5% effective August 1st, 2024. Board president and the treasurer directed to execute the attached treasurer's contract addendum, and that be made part of the treasurer's employment contract, replacing the current Article 4, Section A. We have a motion and a second.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Thank you for your service over the next year.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so we do have someone registered for public participation. You will have 5 minutes to address the board. And the speaker is Nicholas Edgington.
Hello, my name is Nick Edgington, and my family and I have been residents of Madison since 2019. Our son graduated Madison Pre-K this past May. I listened to the past few board meetings and noticed that the Pre-K is rarely mentioned, if not at all. Because preschool is not a requirement of one's education, it can sometimes be classified as less important or not beneficial to a child. My goal here today is to emphasize from a father's perspective that preschool is in fact very important and extremely beneficial for a lot, if not all, of children in our community. Our son has special needs. He turned 1 at the beginning of the pandemic, and due to the lockdown, he was completely shut off from all interaction with other children his age. He is also considered nonverbal and lacks the communication tools that most of us have. Having a child with special needs comes with its own struggles and sometimes a true sense of helplessness as parents. After working with Ohio Early Intervention and Help Me Grow, we wanted to continue his progress and socialize him as much as possible. It was suggested to us that we enroll him into preschool right after his 3rd birthday. Our son started the assessment process for Madison Pre-K when he was about 2.5 years old. The worry in our hearts began to subside more and more with every person we met at the pre-K. Over the last 2.5 years, our son has progressed immensely in multiple aspects of his life. His language and communication skills have increased significantly. He made friends and learned to play in various social settings. He now enjoys learning many things, from the alphabet to numbers, as well as daily tasks to valuable life skills. He started at the pre-K in diapers and is now fully potty trained. Most of the growth that our son has shown would have never been possible without the teachers and therapists at Madison Pre-K. Our son's speech therapist, Mrs. Julius, and occupational therapist, Mrs. Hauser, have gone above and beyond to help him learn the tools he needs to be successful for the future. Mrs. Julius took the initiative to help us acquire a speaking device for our son, which he uses every day. She also taught him cooperative play and helped him develop language and communication skills using multiple different strategies. Mrs. Hauser helped our son overcome sensory issues and improve fine motor skills. My family is forever grateful for their help. My family's had the pleasure to work with 3 different teachers at Madison Pre-K, including Mrs. Tapia and Mrs. Dragus. And each year our son was attending, we saw increasingly more progress. During his most recent year, his teacher was Mrs. Keller. There seemed to be an almost immediate connection between our son and Mrs. Keller, one that I saw her develop with all of her students, which was evident at the graduation ceremony. My family will never be able to thank Mrs. Keller and her 2 assistants enough for the growth that she has brought out in our son. She not only worked diligently with our son to help him improve his skills, but she also treated him with such care and kindness throughout the whole year. Everyone there believed in our son as much as we did, and at times even more. Like all children who attend, Madison Pre-K made sure that our son was included in every lesson, assignment, and special event all 3 years. If there are any parents in Madison that have either special needs children or just want their child to have a place to socialize and learn important skills and knowledge, I want you to know that Madison Pre-K is there for you. The Pre-K has made him a part of this community. People know him by name when we go out and about. They have taught our son to make friends and form mutual relationships with other peers and trusted adults that are not just mom and dad. These teachers and therapists have been the biggest support system for us, and we never thought we would be so confident to send our son off to kindergarten. I hope me speaking here today will reach at least one parent, family, or community member that is in a similar place where we were 3 years ago. I hope my words reach the teachers, therapists, and all the Madison Pre-K staff as a thank you from the Edgington family. I hope me speaking here today will show you how the Madison Pre-K should be in the conversations more at these board meetings. Because although preschool is not a requirement, it has the ability to change a family's lives forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very beautiful. Thank
Can
you.
you email that to us so we can share that with their teachers?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would appreciate that.
That is wonderful. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Best public participation ever.
Yeah. That's awesome. Good to hear.
They
You
really
know,
are some truly, truly special people. They do. They have a passion for what they do there. And he assesses, all of them right on, and Mrs. Keller especially has this knack with these kids that they just love her. I mean, it's special.
thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
For letting me.
I'll just add, my son, when he was in the pre-K, helped identify an issue that he needed help on, and he's in a PhD program now at Kent, so it seemed to work out pretty well. All right, reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
Thank you. My first item is I would like to recommend the approval of the financial statements for June 2024.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, I would like to recommend the approval of the return of the advances made at fiscal year end. Just as a recap, these advances were made specifically to our grant funds due to timing issues when we request money from the state, but it came in late due to timing issues, just as we do every other. So now we're returning the funds to the general.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mr. Horvath.
Yes.
Motion passes. And lastly, I would like to recommend the approval of just one then and now for June 2024. It was for the educational funding group, and it was due to the invoice was received prior to the purchase.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson, or
Yes.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Yes.
And that concludes my treasurer's report.
Thank you. Reports of the administrative team.
All right, well, I want to start tonight because I know there have been some questions out in the community and to several board members about pay to participate for this year. We are not going to recommend an increase. We are rather going to take a deep dive into what our total sports program and activities program costs and make a presentation this fall, probably at the September meeting, to share what those costs are with the boards so that we can start planning accordingly going forward. We have seen that several districts around us, and they're in a different position than we are, suspended for the year their pay to participate fees. We can't do that, but the least we can do at this time is look at what those fees truly, what these programs truly cost and what they need to be. We've based it in the past on just the salaries, but there are so many more pieces and parts to this: transportation, fuel, referees, equipment, custodian overtime. So we want to give the community a full picture of what those fees should be, what they are, and where they probably need to go. Any questions on that? The other big thing I want to talk about briefly is kindergarten enrollment. I have said multiple times this summer, things are just sort of flip-flopped from where they usually are. At North, we are up to 96 students if we accept all open enrollment there. I think we're going to move some open enrollment, but we want to wait until we see where the numbers fall. So we haven't notified any families yet, because I only have 54 as of today still at South. Based on what I've looked at in census data, I don't think we're going to get a huge increase, but we could go up 25 to 30 students still between the two buildings. And I have to balance the spots. But if I still have seats at South, I'll probably have to do some sort of shuttle if the numbers go up over what I can accommodate at North. I just want to keep you in the loop.
I'm curious, when we do that, how do we determine who goes? So let's say we determine we have to move, 10 kids from north to south. Will we look at if they have other siblings at north, or is it in order of
in order
when
of
they filed
theirs,
their,
yeah, it's and how they file their paperwork, and if they enroll, right, after,
the, yeah, and I get it.
I mean, it's not the most ideal way, but again, we're not in the position right now to add a teacher,
Sure, no, I get it.
so
Do we have a lot of people open a role for our kindergarten?
we have 13 right now open enrolled between the two buildings. I think I have 7 open enrollment at South, and 6 at North.
I just want to think that we are able to do all the kindergarten now. What's this been the second, third year now?
This will be the 3rd year.
The third year that we were able to start that 3 years ago. And I just think, especially after the COVID mess,
Yeah.
that we were able to do that and we're still able to do that.
Yeah, and
And
our
I just
students,
think that's awesome that, the support to keep that going.
Well, but keep in mind, are the funds now used up or are they, this is the, or are we using the,
we're paying for it.
we are paying for it. So keep in mind what we've had to also give up in other areas in order to keep that. And at some point, we may get to a point where we can't cut or give up anything else to keep that. I hope it doesn't get to that,
I hope it doesn't either.
but
Yeah, because kindergarten is just,
It's a foundation.
yeah, I just think that is, just like the pre-K, we just mentioned, all these different phases that are so important for their development. And we can't, skip those.
No, and like you said, people watching, if you don't have your student enrolled in preschool, I know we have spots, because I was looking at the numbers just yesterday, so.
Is there any way we can advertise, come up with something, so we
Yeah,
can put it
Joanne's
out?
pretty good about that. She's already done some advertising in some
Has she?
various, like, parent magazines and the Val Pack, so. And again, I think it's just some of the census data. There's not as many children, young children in this area. I do want to introduce to the board tonight Jeff Watt. He is going to be an intervention specialist at Madison High School. He will be taking Nick Riley's place. And it is a family affair to hear tonight because Julie Watt is one of our 8th grade science teachers here, and she's here to support her husband this evening.
Yeah,
And
I had a lot of.
Well, welcome.
Welcome and
this
welcome
is
back.
date night for them away from
Yes.
the twins. They have twins.
Yes, it's date night.
We'll get you out of here real quick.
woo, that's one heck of a date night.
And I want to talk to you tonight very briefly. I went to the Martha Holden Jennings summer retreat last week. And on Friday, we spent the day looking at it from a leadership perspective, Chat GPT, use of artificial intelligence in the classroom, lesson planning, those kinds of things. And we worked with a national presenter who now is going to come back and do 2 Zoom sessions with the leadership teams of the district that to help shape how Chat GPT or the use of artificial intelligence can work in a district and start looking at some of the policy pieces for that. And then their summer institute next year, they've revamped them because I think they did them in math and science. And instead of that, they're going to do a summer institute for teachers all around the use of artificial intelligence in the classroom. So they're doing a very deep dive into this, because the one thing that multiple speakers said on Friday was this is not something that's going to be slow to be implemented. It's here. We have to learn how to manage it, work with it, and understand the capabilities of it so that it is used for the right purposes and in the right way. And I'm very excited to dive into this work more, to help position some of the people that are probably using it already and ask them to tap in from teachers and to administrators to be a part of this work. And I will keep you posted as we go along. Related to that, the ESC in October is having their own artificial intelligence summit. So this is going to be a focus this year for many, many districts because it's here. And, you know, teaching kids to be ethical users of it, staff members to be ethical users of it. I mean, there are some really cool things that you can do with it. And, you know, how to manage it. So, have any of you used ChatGPT at all?
No, it's just, I struggle with technology because I think it's going too far where kids, it's good that they have access to it, but
I've never heard of Chat GPT before. I'll be honest. Anybody else not heard what? Well, Mr. Tech Guy over here probably knows what it is, right? Of course. I have no clue.
I'm old school. I believe in encyclopedias.
Well, it's Wikipedia now.
Now, is that where, like, if you write a paper, it'll check to make sure that you're not,
It'll write the paper.
It'll write the
it'll
paper.
write the paper for you
Yeah,
and to make
yeah.
sure you're not
I mean,
doing it for somewhere else.
But
yeah, I've used Grammarly. That's
Yeah, I use
totally not the
Grammarly.
same
I
thing.
need that.
artificial intelligence, it is still based on the same thing. Artificial intelligence, one of the things I did learn, has been around for a long time. It actually, some of these bots started in the 50s. There was a bot, I think she said in 1968, that you could ask, how are you today? And the bot would respond. Alexa is artificial intelligence. Siri's artificial intelligence. So it's just some of these pieces, like ChatGPT is an enclosed system. It doesn't tap out into the internet. It's information that's been loaded in up to a certain point in time. And there's, you know, up until last week, I never used it. I actually used one just to see when I had to write that community update. I didn't like any of it. So, you know, I wrote my own community update about the passing of our student. But I did put in, you know, I went back to my English teacher days and I said, okay, I want to create a lesson on Macbeth that uses an argumentative, the standard of persuasive or argumentative writing. I want it to be an authentic assessment, meaning a real world activity. Give me 4 options. And in 2 minutes, that lesson plan was done. And back in the day when I taught Macbeth, to create those pieces probably would have taken 2 to 3 hours just to generate what they gave me in 30 seconds.
Okay, I have this book at home. It's called A Writer's Reference. Okay. And that's how I'm sure everybody looked at that back in the day when they had to write papers and, you know, high school and college, but I'm still using this, right? So, it wasn't until last year, literally last year, that I discovered Grammarly. And I was so thrilled about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, Noelle, come and look at this. And she's like, yeah, I know about that. And I'm like, what do you mean you know? How long have you known about this? It's like, oh, a long time, Mom. And I'm like, you see me flipping pages through this reference book to write my papers for years now. And you've known all along that there was an easier way, but just couldn't tell me. Yeah. So yeah, kids know all about this. When you say Chat GPT, I could go home right now, which I'm going to, and ask my kids exactly what is Chat GPT. They're going to know.
Yeah, they'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're old. We're
Yeah,
getting
we
old.
are.
Doug Baker said he asked it to write a new version of the song "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel, using current events from a different decade, maybe 2010 to 2020, and There's a new song with different historical events.
Did it rhyme?
I don't know. I didn't hear it. I'll have to ask Doug.
Yeah. I
But
know
yeah,
you were
just-
gonna sing
just
it for us or something.
And when I went to that Lake County Business Advisory Council meeting last year, and they had groups in talking about how it's being used now, all of our students are going to move into a workforce where those things are in place. And so,
And so as educators, there's how it can streamline and help teachers, have more time to do the real work and art of teaching, which is those relationship pieces. And also the ethical use of how to use it so that you aren't using it to totally plagiarize a paper or, where it's value. I mean, it's in every aspect of society. The whole actors strike last year was all about artificial intelligence. That was one of the big sticking points that kept them out of work as long as they were, because it was it's a threat to that industry that you can take somebody's image and then move them into a film without having them actually be on set to do it. So, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of legal things to look at. And Martha Holden Jennings has decided to take this work head on and help facilitate that conversation. And I do want to give a shout out to Renee Willis, who is the new director of the Martha Holden Jennings. She is very dynamic, very passionate, and I think we're going to see a lot of good things from that organization. They've done great things, but she's really going to make this a premier nonprofit. Do you have anything?
no,
All right. All right, so under my recommendations this evening, I'm asking you to approve the OPSI contract. They ratified a tentative agreement on July 3rd, and we're asking you to ratify this agreement effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. And it has the same base increases that MEA had.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Appreciate the working relationship with OPSI. Reaching an agreement. Roll call, please.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under the employment motion this evening, we're asking you to approve the unpaid leave request of Amy Phelps, South Elementary School Intervention Specialist, for the period of August 16th, 2024 through June 2nd, 2024, which is the school year. We're asking you to approve the unpaid leave request of Mackenzie Wheeler, custodian at Madison Middle School, from July 1st, 2024 through August 26th, 2024. We're asking you to employ Jeff Watt as an intervention specialist at Madison High School under a one-year limited contract for the 2024-25 school year. We're asking you to employ under a one-year contract as preschool instructor at the hourly rate of compensation for the 2024-25 school year, Nancy Woodward. We're asking you to employ the following certificated personnel under a one-year limited extended services supplemental contract for the 2024-25 school year. Beginning with Catherine Kaminsky, guidance counselor, and ending with Brett Tomko, instrumental music director. We're asking you to employ the following non-certificated persons under a one-year limited personal service contract for the 2024-25 school year, beginning with Cheyenne Christian, Madison High School Assistant Chair Advisor Fall, and ending with Andrew Rusnick, Madison High School Co-Assistant Boys Soccer Coach. And then we're asking you to approve the following wage rates: to increase the administrative employee wages by 2.5% effective August 1st and 2% August 1st, and benefit contributions as agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreements. Pay the exempt employees effective July 1st, 2024 at the following hourly rates and benefit contributions as agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreements, and increase these rates by 2% July 1st of 2025, beginning with Susan Quayle and ending with Marty Brandt. And then we're asking you to approve the following transfers: to approve the transfer of Amanda Edgington from a 3-hour position at special education pre-K aide to a 6-hour position as a special education pre-K aide, effective August 19th, 2024, and to approve the transfer of Patel from a 3-hour position as an educational assistant playground at South to a 3-hour per day position as a special education pre-K aide, effective August 19th. And that is the employment motion this evening.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So, like for guidance, we give these because they have to work on the schedules and things prior to school. My question is, and I could be wrong, but did we not just approve a leave for one of them at the beginning of next school year?
She's not on this list.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Ms. Hayes.
Yes,
Motion passes.
Okay, and the next is the annual approval of bus routes and stops. Little modification from the previous year, but of course, if, there's driver issues, we have been known to combine routes as needed,
when you say little modification, what is the modifications?
based on the number of kids on each route.
Okay, but the route themselves have
right.
not changed, bus stops have stayed the same?
Those things, yes.
Okay.
Obviously, the exception of the situation where.
Yeah,
maybe
adding a
was
kid
one
or not,
house and
yeah.
There's 5 houses in between or something.
I get it.
Still need a motion in a second, is that right?
I'll move.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes,
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under the consent calendar this evening, there are 3 items. To enter into an agreement between the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio and Madison Local Schools to provide audiology and/or hearing impairment services for the 2024-25 school year. To enter into an agreement between Public School Works and Madison Local Schools to provide a staff training management system for the time period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. And to approve the renewal of voluntary student accident insurance through Strassman Insurance Services for the 24-25 school year.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I got a quick question. Do they still come out, like, I remember when we were kids, they would come out and test every kid. Do they still do that? For the hearing and stuff?
Yeah, but that's not through that's through the nurses. They do hearing and vision tests. Yeah.
Do they? Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We do not have a need for executive session? None for you either, Sarah? All right. We have a motion for adjournment?
Aye.
I'll move.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We are adjourned.
Steve,